Hey folks, it's Echo here. The wait is over and 7 Days to Die 1.0 is here. As we shed our alpha skin and embrace our console brethren, get ready to reimagine survival. There's a number of features to onboard new players, and for the veteran zombie slayers, you'll quickly find that every choice you make has an impact. Let's jump into all the changes, starting with graphics. One of the first things you want to check out before you jump into a new game is the new character profiles. Just want to jump right on in. The Fun Pimps have already created a number of player profiles that you can just select and go with. But otherwise, if you want to be a little bit more customized and make something according to your looks or tastes, you can click down here on Create, put in your character name, and Create. Once you get in here, you got a number of sliders you can play around with, male, female, you've got white, native, black, and Asian. You've got 4 different faces to play with, a number of different eyes, you've got hairstyles, you've got hair color, mustaches, chops, all the goodness, and beards. So there's a lot of different variety that you can come up with. I'll just hit randomize a few times so you can see a few representative examples of what the different characters look like. But man, this is a massive departure from the old Play-Doh looking characters that we had in the past. In terms of animation, you'll notice that the new character model is a lot more fluid, has the ability to look all in different directions. When you take swings with things, it looks a lot more realistic and you can kind of look up and down. Similarly, when we flip over to firearms, you will actually see that wherever you point, the character actually changes their perspective in terms of where they're looking. So I can look right out at you, take a few shots, and then go ahead and reload. This animation is also significantly better than what it was. Additionally, clipping seems to be reduced on the armor, and overall just the movements are good. We still have a little bit of jank on the ladders, but other than that, this is a fantastic upgrade. So with zombie and character graphics upgraded, the last thing that we have is animals and plants. Included in the release are new models for the mountain lion, the wolf, the doe, and the stag. On first glance, you can immediately tell that the animations are more fluid, there's additional combat animations, and lastly, they've added a new fur shade just to make the animals more lifelike. In terms of farming, there's no changes to the perks. However, we do have new models for the pumpkin, the hops, the coffee, and the cotton plants. And though there's no perk changes, we will get into the armor changes later, which will impact farming. In past releases, the zombies got updated to HD models, but now we're also getting variations. As an example, we've got the nurse here, we've got the 2 right nurses, which are just different colorations, and then the one on the left has the different type of scrub. It's got the ducky scrub, which I absolutely love. Next, we have the party girl, who is no longer limited to black, but now has red and white variants. And lastly, to represent, we've got the Hawaiian, which has multiple types of Hawaiian shirts, and then also has a bowling jersey. I'll leave you to find the rest in-game, but let's jump on over to the new Demolition Zombie model. I can honestly say I'm not looking forward to meeting this guy on Horde Night, but damn does he look good. He's got multiple bandoliers of munitions going across him, and the one other big thing that I will point out is that the button seems to have moved more to his top right shoulder where it was more kind of centered in his chest before, so this is going to make headshots at range a little bit more precarious. Here's a quick example of me tapping the button. And as he explodes, note the new explosion graphic. We'll try to see if we can get this again so you can see it. But the rocks that actually come out of it pop up as round boulders instead of those kind of diamond looking blocks. Lastly, the dismemberment system has been extended and now applies to all the zombies. It also has some additional gore aspects to it in regards to arterial blood spray and all kinds of other wacky stuff. So if you're looking to recreate some of your favorite Kill Bill moments, this is your chance. Random World Gen has received several enhancements, the first of which is that we have the burnt forest biome back in the game. Previously in Alpha 21, it was only available in Navezgane, but now it is available for Random World, so you can add as much or as little as that as you want. And then right above that, we have biome layout. This is a new feature that allows us some control over the biomes and how they're created. Going from left to right, we've got forest center, wasteland center, circle, and line. So let's go ahead and generate out a map here just as a test. As a baseline, in Alpha 21, it typically took me between 2 to 3 minutes to render out an 8K map. And there we have it in 39 seconds, which is easily 4 times faster than before. One of the other nice new features is that we can actually zoom down into the map at this stage. And you'll notice that each of the POIs is color coded. This allows you to get kind of a layout of the zones in the city. So light blue is going to be rural, yellow is industrial, dark blue is commercial, gray is downtown, green is residential, red are traders, and then white are wilderness POIs. The borders of the map have gotten an update. First off, radiation is gone. Instead, you get this yellow hue as you're approaching the edge, and you're going to hit a spot where you can no longer build. So you see I can't build here. And if I come back 1 block, I can build. Then as you move beyond that, you'll hit another zone eventually where it says basically you have reached the end of the world. This change is beneficial because it will allow POIs to be able to be spawned closer to borders. Speaking of spawning, when you come to the game, there's going to be a new onboarding experience called the Challenge System. This replaces the previous Journal System and allows you to go in whatever order you want. For players new to 7 Days to Die, this will guide you through all the basics of collecting your starting materials, getting some starting armor and tools and all that. And for experienced players, there are challenges that extend beyond the basic quest. At any point, you can press Y to pull up the challenge menu, and then you just go through and click on each of these and press W to redeem them, where you'll get 100 XP each. And then finally, there's a reward for completing the entire row. Similar to the old journal system, once you complete that first row, it's going to open up your trader quest so you can go visit your good friend Trader Rect. And yes, it will always be Trader Rect, but we'll get to that later in the video. Once you've knocked out that first row, there's numerous challenges here, from homesteading, advanced survival, crafting, traders, harvesting. And one other thing to mention is that as you complete some of these more difficult challenges, the rewards are not trivial. For the most difficult ones, you'll get a selection of 5 rewards that you can choose between, and this is also wired up so they can just expand this out and add additional tabs. So moving away from the challenge system over to the new progression changes. For many alphas, the traders have been considered overpowered and crafting has been all but useless. That era is over and they have tackled progression in a number of different ways. We're going to start off with trader quests. First off, they are oriented towards helping onboard new players. After you meet your first trader, you will be rewarded with a shovel, which feels a little underwhelming until you realize that your first quest will be a buried supplies quest, which will help onboard new players. So take your shiny new shovel, head out, dig up your supplies, come back to the trader, and then you'll have the normal assortment of quests that you would have. Now let's jump into quest tier progression. In 1.0, you will be getting tier points equivalent to the quest tier you are completing. So completing a tier 1 quest will give you +1 tier points, a tier 2 would give you 2 tier points, and so on. To advance each quest tier level, you will need to get 10 times the current quest tier level. At its core, it essentially means that you have to complete 10 quests of the current tier level that you're on to advance to the next level. So completing tier 1 would require you to complete 10 tier 1 quests. Alternatively, once you pass tier 1, you have the option to kind of mix and match. So for tier 2 completion, you could do 5 tier 2s and 10 tier 1s, for example. One other huge change is that quest tiers are now universal. This means that if you unlock tier 3 with Trader Rect, you have access to tier 3 quests with all the other traders. That being said, if you're playing multiplayer, only the person who owns the quest actually gets credit in terms of tier completion. Everyone else in the party still gets to turn in for loot rewards, but not tier progress. So that will slow progression, and then let's get into the rewards from quests. To explain the layout, the top is the quest tier completion, and then the bottom is all the quest reward examples. I didn't want to go into a full XML deep dive because I wanted this to be more representative so that you could experience it as you jump in, but there's some themes that are very obvious here, and that is that you're not seeing tools, weapons, armor, things along those lines. You're actually seeing the components and pieces to make them. So rather than being given things, the expectation is that you gather the materials and you do the crafting yourself, which makes crafting finally relevant again. Next, let's go ahead and take a look at the trader inventories. Much like the quest rewards, you're not going to see any massive jumps in progression. So we're going to check out Trader Jen here. We're level 10 with this character. We've got a point into Daring Adventure.
Looking to patch up those wounds?
And we'll just kind of see what she has in inventory here. Now, typically at this stage, it wouldn't be uncommon to see, some significant jumps up to iron and even potentially steel items. But as I'm scrolling through here, I'm not seeing any major jumps. You can see we've got Iron Axe, Claw Hammer around level 1, Iron Pickaxe around level 1, but nothing major at this stage yet. Let's see, in terms of armor, you've got a number of different pieces of armor, but they're all level 1 and 2. So this is pretty indicative of what I have seen out of the trader inventories so far. So you're going to be able to get some of the stuff that you need, but you're not going to get those massive jumps that we are used to seeing in Alpha 21. So the last trader progression item is one that I kind of alluded to earlier when I was talking about Trader Rect always being the first trader that you get to see in the game. That is because the traders will only spawn in specific biomes associated with them. So moving from left to right in order of biome difficulty, we have Rect spawning the Pine Forest, Jen in the Burnt Forest, Bob in the Desert, Hugh in the Snow biome, and finally Joel in the Wasteland. In addition to this, they've also modified the Open Trade Routes quest so that it goes in that same order, so that once you complete all your quests with Rect, it will automatically send you to Jen, then to Bob, then to Hugh, and then finally to Joel. Now, we know there's no love lost on Trader Rect, but this is going to actually make things interesting because it's going to force people to move around the map more to be able to get the items they need to survive and progress. Speaking of acquiring items, you will no longer be able to find quality 6 gear in either loot or at the trader for purchase. Moving forward, the only way to get your hands on that sweet quality 6 gear is going to be to craft it yourself. So it's going to take some of the normal mundane parts that we've always had, but it's going to have this new requirement of legendary parts. These are super rare crafting components that can only be found in tier 5 POI and loot, or as a quest reward from a tier 5 or a tier 6 quest. One other important call out is that those legendary parts will be required for any tools or weapons, whether it be iron, steel, or even primitive. This brings us over to the changes to armor crafting. To make armor, we're going to need a new component called an armor crafting kit. To make these, you're going to need armor parts plus a sewing kit plus duct tape. These armor crafting kits will become the foundation for all armor pieces. So if we take a look at quality 1 armor, you're going to need an armor crafting kit and either leather or cloth fragments. As you make higher quality armor, there's going to be additional components required. So at level 2 it's going to be the same, but at level 3 you add on forged iron, at level 5 you add on steel, and then finally at level 6 you add on the legendary parts, same as the weapons and tools. Other than the difference between leather or cloth fragments, there is no cost difference between all the different armor sets at any of the different quality levels. So wrapping the progression all together, we've got changes to trader quests, trader inventory, crafting, and then the last thing that I'm not going to go into detail in is the amount of rework and balancing that they did around the loot tables to make sure that you don't ever have any massive jumps in progression. The goal behind all of this is to create a more smooth gameplay loop where all your decisions are more meaningful. In addition to the player model being updated, the armor system has also been overhauled to be able to fit those new models. All previous armor has been removed and we'll be getting 16 brand new armor sets, 1 primitive, 5 light, 6 medium, 4 heavy, each with unique perks which I'll cover. As part of this change, clothing has been removed and armor has been reduced from 5 pieces down to 4, including head, outfit, hands, and feet. Each armor piece will have a unique bonus that scales with the quality of armor. In addition to that, there is a set bonus that also scales with quality using the lowest common quality level. So for my current character here, the set bonus would be based on quality 4 for the lumberjack full set bonus, but if I upgraded the outfit piece to a level 5, then the bonus would move up to a level 5. So if I drop this in here and click up here, you'll see we move double wood harvest and use 20% up to 25%. And then again, if we rotate it back out like this, then we are back to 20%. Now that we know how the set bonus scales, let's look at an individual item. So we'll look at the lumberjack hat here and we see it's plus 5% wood harvest. And then at level 2 goes up to 10, 15, 20, 25, and then finally up to 50. So these scale quite a bit from the 5 to 6 jump. And then also just to give you kind of a flavor of the bonuses here, you've got wood harvest increase, carrying capacity increase, axe damage, and stamina regen / running. So this leads us to one of the common questions, which is, do I now need to perk into Pack Mule? And the answer is maybe. So first off, you've got a lot of new armor pieces, like the lumberjack outfit here, which give you plus 4 carrying capacity. So that will unlock the first 4 slots for us here. And then in addition to that, we now have a quad pocket mod, which is going to give a plus 4 carrying capacity. And then we've got one other little trick up our sleeves, and that's that you can stack pocket mods. So if I come in here and modify, I can have a quad pocket mod. I cannot have 2 of the same type, so I can't add that one, but I can have a 4, a 3, and a 2 in here. So that would give me a total of 4, 7, and 9 in a single item. And if we had the tier 6, obviously we could add the single pocket mod below that as well. So that is kind of how that works with the pocket mods. Now let's look at the other new mods that we've got here. And for this, I kind of want to go to the head slot because some of these are unique to the head. So we'll go ahead and open up this. Now we lost the cigar as a clothing item, but we now have it as a head slot item. So that can go in here and does the same thing, plus 1 strength, 10% bartering. We also have night vision now as a headpiece mod. Additionally, we have a new mod called the Stealth Boots mod, which reduces noise and stamina penalties on medium and heavy boots. And then we've got some interesting stuff. We've got the Treasure Hunter mod up here. And this is like a combination of the old looting goggles, plus the nerdy goggles kind of all in one, but 10% XP gain, 10% better loot, and treasure radius -1. Now the interesting thing is, you also have individual mods for each of your skill points. So, you know, perception, strength, agility, fort, int. Now, these all along here are mutually exclusive, so I can't have more than one. So if I put in the treasure hunter mod, I cannot also put in a perception mod. It will not allow me. Now, the one thing that I did notice here is that the cigar and the strength mod is allowed. So you can pull off +2 strength with these two. So that is all the new mods. Let's jump in and take a look at all the new types of armor we've got. The first one we're going to get access to is the primitive armor. It doesn't have any perks per se, but it will give you some damage mitigation in combat. It is considered a light armor. The next one that we have is the athletic armor. This one is focused around fitness buying items, maxing out health and stamina, increased run speed, and reducing food and water usage. The Enforcer outfit is all about using the Magnum and the Desert Vulture. It's going to give you better bartering bonus, increased crit damage, reduced fuel, better run speed, and then more damage with those two weapons. The Lumberjack, no surprise here, is all about harvesting wood. Its set bonus is really nice with that double wood harvest and using less stamina while using axes. Next up, we have the Preacher, who is all about the undead, both resisting, dealing out damage. I have a hunch this is going to be a fan favorite with the gloves having increased undead damage, but we'll wait and see. The Rogue armor, not surprisingly, all about the sneaky sneak. It's also all about the loot. You get increased loot bonus, you get better lock picking, all that good stuff, more cash and dukes and loot. The Assassin set is similar to the Rogue, but instead of kind of the loot bonuses, it focuses more on damage. So if you're looking for a good combat stealth build, this is going to be the armor you want to look for. The Biker armor looks tailor-made for a nice brawler build. You've got that increased stun damage, max health bonus, increased melee damage, and reduced melee stamina. If you're looking for a well-rounded set of armor, the Commando armor gives a little bit of everything. It gives you that increased range damage, faster speed, and then also help with healing, so I think this could be used in almost any scenario. For those frustrated with farming post Alpha 21, I think this is going to bring some nice bonuses to you. Seed loot bonus, crop harvest bonus, and then seed harvest bonus. The Ranger has kind of an Old West feel with bonuses to revolvers and lever action rifles. Additionally, you pair that up with the bartering bonus, some max health bonus, and stamina bonus. If you're looking to go out and break down a bunch of cars, the Scavenger outfit's going to be yours because that one's got your salvage harvest and then reduced salvage stamina. It also has increased carrying capacity to carry everything back. For the Dwarven miners within all of you, you've got the miner outfit here. This one's all focused about digging up that sweet ore. You're able to go faster, longer, and you get more out of it. Next, we have the controversial nerd set, which has one of the craziest perks that I've seen yet, and that's in the outfit where you have a chance at an extra skill point. Will it be enough for people to wear it? We'll have to see. The Nomad is all about surviving the wasteland. You've got a lot of perks that help with food and water, you've got increased run speed, and then you've got increased damage versus radiated zombies. And lastly, we've got the Raider set, which might be the second set that is perfect for a brawler build. This one would be a little bit slower, the Biker would be a bit of a faster build. Vehicles have received all new models, and in addition, now when you install a mod, you actually see it show up on the vehicle. So speaking of which, here's a quick summary of some of the changes. The number to the right of each vehicle represents the number of people that can ride on that vehicle by default. The big changes on this are the 4x4, which now carries 4 people by default, and the gyrocopter now carries 2 by default. Now when we're looking at the mods, we've got 5 returning mods from Alpha 21, but then we're also going to get access to 2 brand new mods. Now I say 2, but they essentially do the same thing, and that's that they reduce damage taken and increase damage dealt out. The armor mod will be for the motorcycles and gyrocopters, and then the vehicle plow mod will go onto the 4x4. Now that you have an understanding of the mods, here's the summary real quick, and now let's dive straight into the vehicles. First up, we've got the bicycle, and it has a really nice graphical update to it. You've got lots of parts and pieces on it. Additionally, as you notice me kind of driving over the curbs here, you get hung up a little bit, but not nearly as bad as I got caught up on previous alphas. Additionally, I feel like it just drives a lot smoother overall and handles a lot better than it used to. Speaking of handling better, the mini bike, night and day difference, you can tell as it rolls right over these curves with relative ease, well, with the exception of that. Also on this one, you're going to see a really clear example of that extended seating mod. That's the chair that's strapped to the back. That ups our capacity for the mini bike up to 2 people, and then otherwise we have the same standard mods we had before. Now the motorcycle, I'm not going to lie, I thought I wasn't going to like this, but man, I was just driving it around town. It handles really well. The model is super sharp. We also have that new armor mod that goes on this, so it does a little bit more damage, takes a little less. And overall, this has been my favorite vehicle for navigating the wasteland thus far. And on the opposite end of wasteland navigation is going to be the 4x4. I love this model, it's gorgeous, but I am going to have to recommend that you stick to the roads. In the forest biome, it does great, but all these little bits in the wasteland, tosses it around like it's a little tinfoil truck. The 4x4 also has the plow mount on the front, which is really nice for just mowing down zombies. Last, we've got the gyrocopter. I am notorious for being horrible at being able to fly these things, but I honestly felt like it performed a little bit better. I managed to land it on top of a rooftop over here. It just seemed like the controls in general were a little less harsh and a little bit more manageable. Performance has been a huge concern amongst the community, and there's been a lot of optimizations put into this build. I'm going to show just a quick sampling of some of my testing. Here's the rig that I'm using and the settings that I've got. Also keep in mind this is a max game stage Horde with a ton of electrical in here to really stress test. So basically what I saw is the first half of Horde Night kept right around 30 frames per second. Once we got to the back half, it started to get down into the low 20s and the high teens. At just a gut check, it feels like it operated a lot better than this base did in Alpha 21. One thing that I did note is that grenades definitely take a hunk out of your frames, but overall for me, performance did feel better than in Alpha 21. Let's also go ahead and check out what it feels like in our good old Tier 5 Crackabooks, because this is one of the places that was pretty painful in the past. I'll let the frames speak to themselves, but I'm going to talk to some of the changes that they've implemented to make things better. They've implemented a new window tinting system that makes it so that you don't really see all the assets inside until you get up close, and that minimizes the number of props and things like that that load in at any given time. They've also changed how spawning occurs so that it only happens in sequence so that you're not causing the entire building to spawn and be active. Additionally, they've implemented large remnants that help space out how a city is structured so that it doesn't have as many high density POIs sitting right next to each other, and we'll show that a little bit when I go into some of the POI updates coming up. Lastly, a number of the art assets have been adjusted so that they don't have to make as many draw calls, which also just takes a load off your system. Storage chests have gotten a huge quality of life change. It only takes 10 wood to make them and they're writable, and then all it takes to upgrade them is 10 iron, and then you can upgrade them again for 10 steel. Each time you upgrade a storage box, it will get additional health/hit points as well as additional storage space. Also, all the items that were in there will still be in there afterwards. Next up is the dew collector, which has gotten a nice update. It's much easier to make now, just taking 100 scrap polymers, 4 duct tape, and 4 iron pipes. 22 seconds, and you have yourself a dew collector. Now, it does have some downsides. We'll go ahead and place it over here. And as we look at it, you see it is yellow in color right now. That means it's going to give you murky water. So they've added some mods here that make things a lot nicer here. So we've got a gatherer. So surface cooling increases the rate of dew collection. So essentially this is going to increase the amount that we gather from a speed perspective. So we can put this up here. Next we have the tarp, and this increases the amount of water collected each day. So what this is going to do once we put this up in here, this means we can collect 2 bottles of water in each of these slots for a total of 6 bottles of water before you have to empty. Then lastly, we have the water filter, which does exactly what you'd think. It flips this from yellow to blue, and now we get pure water from this.
Welcome to Trader Hughes. We have the best weapons in Navezgane.
This release brings thousands of new lines of dialogue to 7 Days to Die. All the traders have unique opening and closing announcements.
We are now closed. Get too close to the gate and I'll shoot.
And ultimately, these just add a lot of vibrance to the game. So here's a few lines from Jen.
Oh my god, I haven't seen you for a while. I thought maybe something bad had happened. Whew, what can I get you today? Looking for a little pain relief? You know, a few things turned up missing the other day. You don't know anything about that, do you?
So we're not quite on to full story level, but this does add a lot of flavor and vibrancy to the world. I'll give you a quick taste of Bob here, and then we'll head on over and look at the new POIs.
Doggone it. I can't find my impact wrench. Oh, hey there. Look what we got here. Maybe next time.
With each release of 7 Days to Die, we get a load of new POIs. This time there's over 75 new POIs. There's 4 tier 5 ones getting added to the list. From the looks, this is going to round out and give a little bit more variety to those tier 5s when you get up to those higher quest tiers. Also, we've got the old football stadium back, and it is completely gutted and changed, so this one I cannot wait to dive into. Hats off to the level design team because all these look amazing. The Minotaur Theater, I didn't show the inside of it, but man, wait till you get in there. But beyond the questable POIs, we have all these huge remnants that have been added. And if you're unfamiliar with what a remnant is, it's basically a non-questable POI that has less props in the inside, so it's lower density. This is one of the tricks that they're implementing so that they can get higher performance, because this makes a city feel packed without the performance hit of having like Higashi and Dashang next to each other. Next, they've added in all these water POIs that really flesh out a lot of the wilderness, because as you're going along, you see these bridges coming into towns, and it just makes the map feel more organic. Wait, don't go quite yet! Just bear with me for 1 minute, folks. I want to take a moment and say goodbye to 7 Days to Die Alpha. It's been a huge part of my life, and I'm sure it's been a huge part of many of yours. So kudos and hats off to the Fun Pimps for an amazing release. There is so much stuff packed in here, well beyond what's in the patch notes. So if you can share some love with them down in the comments, that would be incredible. Also, if you want to join me on my journey, I've got a lot more ahead for 7 Days to Die content. I'm primarily a base builder, so that's where I'm going to focus, as well as a lot of the new mechanics that are in the game. So also, if you're interested in finding a server, we're going to be kicking off a brand new 1.0 server, and yeah, I've got a great community, builders and stuff like that. All the information's linked below for Discord. But otherwise, folks, thank you so much for watching. Can't wait to see you on the next video. Echoes out. Cheers. What are y'all still doing here? No, I'm kidding. But seriously, I can't thank the folks over here enough on Patreon and Twitch who've been kind and generous and supported me on this journey. So thank you so much. I'll see everybody on the next one. Cheers.